Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Redbeard, and today we are having a fun little discussion. We're talking about Diablo 4, my new entrance into the Diablo franchise, the beta, the closed beta, the open beta, my thoughts, and sharing some of the thoughts from people from my community. If you're new here, make sure you guys subscribe. If you like the content, make sure you guys hit that like button. Leave your comments and thoughts down below about your experience with the Diablo 4 closed or open beta or both. So, as many of you guys know, this past weekend, those dates being the 24th through today, the 27th or today as of recording, um, was the open beta for Diablo 4. And that is the time frame that I actually got to play. Unfortunately, due to my work schedule, I work Thursdays through Mondays. I actually, unfortunately, only got to play for maybe in total about 10 hours. However, in that 10 hours time frame, I did manage to hit level 20. Me and my fiance both played together. We had a great time, and we have a lot of good thoughts and feedback on the game. There is some constructive criticism that I have, and we'll get into that. First and foremost, let's take a look at the closed beta. The closed beta took place between the 17th and the 20th. This was exclusive to people that have already pre-ordered the game. I have mixed feelings on it. So I just don't like having to pre-order a game to get into a beta. And I unironically, like, I do that every single year with like other Activision titles like Call of Duty. With all that being said, I will say if you do pre-order Diablo 4, obviously you got into the closed beta. There is some really cool Diablo 3 content that you get. I think overall the experience, or from my understanding with the closed beta, as somebody that did not get to participate, it was an overall good experience. I do know that the load times, the queue times were really, really high on the servers, which again, to me, that's understandable. It's a new game. There's a lot of hype around it. People have been asking for Diablo 4 for a very, very long time. We won't really dive into detail about the Diablo Immortals thing,
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have
Everyone's got a
phones,
phone.
right?
but we'll just say that left people really itching and craving Diablo 4 more than they already were. Everybody that I know from my stream, from my community that has played the Diablo 4 beta during the closed period, they all said really positive things aside from uh, load time issues. And if you had a 30 series graphics card, there were a lot of reports of those graphics cards locking up or bricking. But hopefully, around the time that Diablo 4 actually releases, we'll have some optimization patches and things like that to help prevent those things in the future. Now, with that also being said, they did release a NVIDIA drivers update before the open beta weekend to help prevent bricking or overheating, better optimizations on those 30 series graphics cards. Now, again, the open beta was this past weekend. Overall, I think I had a great experience. Like I mentioned earlier, I got to play for about 10 hours in total. Overall, very impressed. I'm a new Diablo fan, so when it comes to like talking about lore and deep diving about how I feel about the characters and stuff coming off of Diablo 3, I'm going to be transparent with you guys. I don't know a lot about it and what's going on. I'm still working through the expansion for Diablo 3. I actually just started playing Diablo 3 about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Um, and I'm just really taking my time, really enjoying that experience. And, here's my little shameless plug. If you guys want to come over to Twitch and check it out while I'm playing through it, teach me the ropes. Backseating is allowed when it comes to games like that for me while I'm learning. So that's twitch.tv/redbeardplays. You guys can come over there and make fun of me while I'm learning how to play a new game. Everything that's happening in the Diablo 4 experience so far, the game visually is stunning. I have nothing but great things to say about the graphics. The performance, it's a little bit spotty. There was a lot of places throughout my time while playing it where it was choppy or even the game crashed whenever adjusting some of my settings. Not major deal breakers for me, just little criticisms here and there. And also, I understand it could have been the servers. There's so many factors that go into um, those types of experiences whenever you have a game like this that's an online based game. I'm trying to be as lenient as I can and not be super hypercritical. But for me, that was my biggest critique. It was the first night that we played it. For me, it was Saturday, the 25th, that I was able to play it after I got off of work. We played for about 5 hours, and during that 5 hours, I had a disconnect issue maybe 3 or 4 times throughout my time playing over those 5 hours. Again, not the end of the world. It just did cut into some of the playtime. So, probably my biggest criticism this weekend. Looking at my experience with it last night, the 26th, much better experience with performance. I didn't really have as many problems with drop frames, game crashing, things like that. However, I had a lot of disconnect issues. Now, I know they did a lot of server resets throughout the beta, so maybe that was some of what I was experiencing. But what I seemed to be going through or dealing with while we were playing it was anytime that I would disconnect, it would be like a server disconnect. It would say, "Oh, you've been disconnected from the server." Well, I would log back in, reconnect to my party, and then whoever became the new party leader, they would then disconnect and they would have to rejoin. And then it would kind of cycle like that every single time. There was 3 of us, so it would happen 3 times, and then the game we would be fine. We could play for about an hour and then it would do it again. So I don't know if that had anything to do with those server disconnects, but again, just kind of one of those things that I experienced. When it comes to performance, biggest concern is if you have a 30 series card, make sure that when we get closer to the game that that's being addressed, that there's some kind of optimization patch. That might be the only concern as far as for your hardware. With all that being said, though, let's get into the actual game discussion. First and foremost, I want to say I am extremely new to Diablo, the franchise as a whole. I'm very new to it. I'm still learning the ins and outs. I'm still learning how to do builds. I'm still learning how to do all of that stuff. So I can't really give my input on what I think of, specifics when it comes to builds specifics. But what I will say is that the class selection and the class variety in the game is, in my opinion, pretty unmatched for something that we got to experience in early access to. The Druid class, my fiance played it, and it just looked like such a good time watching her play. She had so much fun. She loved playing as doing the werebear and running through like that. I personally played as a sorcerer, and like I said, I got my character to level 20 and unlocked quite a bit of the skill tree in that time. I focused in on lightning, and I have to say, it was a lot of fun. A lot of the bolts and stuff, lightning bolts that they bounce between enemies and stuff. There's lots of explosions with those abilities. I thought it was really fun and really, really cool. The audio effects when you're casting, or even your character, like, telling you they need more time, the voice acting with that type of thing, it's freaking unmatched, dudes. When it comes to the classes and things like that, I love it. As far as community feedback from our more experienced community members, the biggest feedback was that the melee builds felt a lot more challenging than they should have been for fighting bosses and things like that. And I didn't really understand what they meant at first, because for me personally, difficulty with these types of games super important, and vital, right? To build up longevity of the game. But I think once we got to world bosses at the end of different dungeons, I had a good understanding of what everybody was meaning when they were saying that. In particular, the very last boss that you can fight in the beta. There's just all kinds of chaotic craziness going on across the floor of the arena and stuff. And it's just insane. There's a lot of things happening. And so, what I noticed for Kayla is with her and her werebear is that she did get knocked down a lot because she had to tank a lot of things going on in the world, or be on her game about dodging and avoiding, which I know that's going to be a big part of the strategy of playing the game. They implemented like a dodge or a sprint button. I think that's a new mechanic that's at least coming, at least from Diablo 3 to Diablo 4. I never played Diablo 2 or Diablo 1, so again, if I'm wrong, please correct me there. But I think whenever it comes to the class variety, I think there's going to be a big chunk of options for players. I think there's going to be a lot of satisfaction in that. Again, I'm enjoying the sorcerer. We had somebody in our party from the stream last night. They were running necromancer. It was insane. I think it was called like corpse explosion that they were doing or something, where they can like cause, I think, like 4 or 5 bodies or corpses to explode and do damage to any enemies nearby. And that, I think, the very last dungeon we ran, like, I wasn't even in there yet, and he just triggered it, and it blew up and killed the boss in like one hit. So we have Necromancer coming back, Sorcerer coming back, Barbarian. The Barbarian was actually a close second pick for me. I actually almost picked starting with a Barbarian, but then I decided, hey, I like my magic. I want to play Sorcerer. And then, as I mentioned, Kayla, she played the Druid and did the Werebear run. And such a cool variety of characters. And I feel like going forwards in the future, with as long term supported as Diablo 3 was, they'll probably do something very similar where we get new classes and characters to pick from going forwards in the future. Now, once you pick your class, obviously you have character customization, which I think this game does an insane level of character customization for it being a top down action RPG game. Coming to Diablo 4's beta and seeing what they've added with, how you can make your character look, your hairstyles, your facial hair, your facial features, your height, piercings or no piercings, tattoos, huge variety of different things that you can do while creating your character. And I think with a game like this, for you to feel more connected with your character, I think that's extremely important. And I think that they have hit the nail on the head with character customization in this game. Gameplay. Now we actually can talk about the fun stuff. So, the actual gameplay experience of playing Diablo 4. So, for me, I was mesmerized by the world the moment that the game started. All the cutscenes were extremely beautiful, aside from some of the performance issues where they were choppy or laggy. Um, Again, beta, I kind of expected those types of things to happen on the occasion. It's not that big of a deal. It wasn't a game breaker for me personally. There was a lot of immersion through these cutscenes, how they delivered them. When you interact with NPCs and talk to them and go through their dialogue, what I really have enjoyed so far is how the um, the camera angle will kind of shift in and focus in on you and that NPC, and all the other people you're playing with, your other party, they disappear temporarily. So that way you, the player, can be solely focused in on your NPC and the story and what's happening and really can grab your attention. Something I notice and that I am not the biggest fan of in Diablo 3 is how the camera stays super zoomed out and you're supposed to feel really connected to the story and what's happening within this dialogue. And so to see them expand on that and kind of have you focus in on what's happening with the character you're talking to is really, really nice. It gives an emphasis of importance of what they're asking you to do. The person that approved that, um, good call on that. As far as difficulty levels, there's I can tell you there's going to be a wide variety of difficulty levels. I'm still a noob. So I'm playing through on regular or adventure, I believe is what they called it in this beta. Eventually I'm working my way up to those higher difficulty levels, but one thing I will say is last night we did check out veteran level difficulty with when we were playing with Immortal Axis cuz he likes to play on veteran because you do get more XP. He was totally right about that, and he was not wrong. But it was brutal. It was brutal. Lots of deaths last night, more than I'm used to. I've died a few times, but I think it was a good balanced experience for somebody that's looking for a more difficult experience. So, veteran, it's not unplayable, it's not undoable. I thoroughly enjoyed my time doing it. It's definitely going to be targeted towards people that like to play in a party. It's doable solo, but it's going to be extremely difficult. So if you're somebody that likes the challenge of the difficult grind, this is going to be the game for you. All right. So, next thing in level design and gameplay is we found randomly, I don't even know how we came across this, but there was something called viewpoints that we located, and it was like press F to interact with viewpoint or something like that. And there's an icon on the ground. It's like a blood icon, and it's positioned in front of locations that are extremely visually appealing. And what the game does is when you interact with that, the camera will actually go down and go behind your character like a third person perspective, and you'll just get this amazing view of stuff off in the distance behind your character or like off in the direction your character's looking, and it just creates this engulfing cinematic experience. And that's definitely something that I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah, I just want to note the voice actors, like every single NPC that I encountered, or main character, or even your character, the hero, whoever you're playing as. The voice acting is grade A. It's not even a question as whether or not the voice acting and even the script for this game is praiseworthy, because it is insanely well done. So bravo to the entire voice acting cast. You guys killed it, did amazing. Something I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about the gameplay. Last little thing is with this game, we're actually getting mounts, which I think is super sick, because it's giving you a little bit more of that get around the map quicker feel, and immersion aspect. And with how large the map is, I want to also praise how large the map is. It is massive. You obviously have the teleporter options, but there's also a lot of segments where there's large spaces to just traverse, which I know is the case with all Diablo games and experiences. But to implement a mount in a modern day Diablo game, as somebody that's coming off of, learning Diablo 3 and going through that, that's something that while playing Diablo 3 and learning that game, I've felt it needed, is mounts. So one concern that I do have about this game, and it's kind of rolling off of the Diablo Immortal experience.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out of season April Fool's joke?
Again, I'm a new Diablo person. I didn't play Immortals, Diablo Immortal. I didn't play Diablo 1. I didn't play Diablo 2. Um, I've played Diablo 3. And what I like about Diablo 3 is, aside from, little in game items like, a new pet with the collector's edition, or the deluxe or collectors or whatever edition, DLC, and I think some few cosmetic things for your character. Like, there's no microtransactions, there's no pay to win elements. And I think the concern that me and a lot of other people have going into Diablo 4 is pay to win elements, microtransactions, things like that. It being an Activision published title, it's understandably a concern, because they really pushed it on the player base, the fan base, with Diablo Immortals. So I think that's something that's a natural concern for the player base. As long as they don't do that, though, I think overall the community is going to be really happy. That's my Diablo 4 impressions, at least from the open beta. Overall, had a great experience with it. I'm really looking forward to Diablo 4. I'm going to be playing it in June when it releases. So I'm curious to know what everybody thought and how you feel. If you have concerns, what are those concerns? Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you're new, like the video. Come on over to twitch.tv/redbeardplays. Like I said, we're playing a lot of Diablo recently, Elder Scrolls Online. If you guys want to watch some first person shooter content, kick.com/redbeardplays. I stream over there like once a week. I know I made a video kind of discussing it, talking about it. So I hope you guys enjoy that too. Otherwise, though, you guys have a great rest of your day. Redbeard out.